Welcome to True Troll Tales, the podcast where reality is stranger than fiction. I'm just here, armed with a microphone, with poor life choices, ready to tell you all about it. Before we dive headfirst in today's True Troll Tales, quick side note, I just wanted to say I love gummy bears. Like passionately, like if there was a gummy bear appreciation club, I'd be president, secretary, and treasurer. I grew up loving the cartoon, if any of my listeners remember the cartoon. Gummy bears bouncing here and there and everywhere. And then as an adult, I discovered the world of weed gummies in Canada and America. Party gummies, sleepy gummies, giggle gummies, basically adulting with the side quests. And now I've just realized that my probiotics, my fish oil, and vitamin D tablets, they all come in gummy form, so I've bought them. Like, who even swallows boring pills anymore? I'm basically getting healthier and having a candy party at the same time. 10 out of 10 would recommend it, getting gummies, because, you know, it's just fun. It's kind of like eating these chewy lollies that don't have any sugar and they're good for you. So gummies. That's got nothing to do with what I'm going to talk about today. Before I did this podcast episode, I just took my fish oil and probiotic gummy bears, and it's just fun to take. No weed gummies. I am sober right now. And I live in Australia and they're illegal, so I don't have any. Anyway, speaking of fun and slightly questionable life decision, let's dive in today's True Troll Tale, because that's what the show's all about. And thank you for tuning in every week, and feel free to write into me to True Troll Tales at truetrolltalespodcast@gmail.com, or reach out on Instagram or any of the socials if you want to be on the show or got a story from me, or if you just want to have a chat and share any of my podcast episodes to anyone that you think they would enjoy, because word of mouth is the best form of marketing, and I appreciate doing this for you every week. So anyway, I've recently started hitting up this stand-up comedy club. I'm in at Star City Casino on the Gold Coast, as I'm here at the moment. And they have it on every Sunday night. I've been going with one of my friends, and it's on around, I think it starts around 6 or 6:30. And what's better, honestly, than live comedy? Absolutely nothing. That's what. Every time, when I was in Sydney, I'd bring my friends to stand-up comedy. I'm like, hey, want to go? Like, yeah, I haven't been in ages. And every time we walk out, my mate's like, oh my God, like, we should do this every week. It's amazing. And I always feel like people just forget that stand-up comedy's out there, and I always like to support artists in any way, if that's musician, actors, comedians, etc., because I know they put so much hard work into it. And as a kid, as anyone that knows me, I watched Eddie Murphy doing stand-up comedy and thought, when he did like Raw and Delirious, and I thought, that's it. That's what I want to do one day when I grow up. That's what I want to do. By the way, I'm still growing up, so I haven't got there yet. I have tried stand-up comedy, but it is very hard. I've done about 7 or 8 shows, but many years ago. But now I just stick to the podcast and acting. Maybe I'll try it one day again, but I'll just stick to watching and supporting other stand-up comedians. Now, I always say comedy shows are the best money you can spend. It's cheaper than therapy, it's cheaper than going to the movies, and definitely cheaper than buying a sketchy that you'll use twice. Fact. Now, this comedy club that I go to on Sundays at Star City Casino on the Gold Coast in Queensland, of anyone that's in that area, let me tell you, the best thing about it is... Okay, now, this comedy club, I don't actually know how to say this word. It's free. Like completely free. Which sounds amazing until you realize, oh, what's the catch? Why is it free? Nothing's free these days. Inflation, everything's expensive. Who wants to give something away for free? Is there really good people out there? It's free because it's inside a casino. The casino is basically like, come for laughs. Come on, we'll give it to you for free. We're good people. Stay for the laugh. But really, we all know why they want to do it. They want to do it because they want you to watch a comedy, and then what happens? You're stuck in the casino. You see all the bright lights. You want to have a cheeky slap, a cheeky gamble, and that's when you get the addiction. As long as they get one person to get the addiction, they're getting your money. So, but the good thing for the comedians is at least they get paid, and that's the main thing, and they get to play live, and that's good. So the casino is still providing that for artists to perform there, but it's free. But listen, stay strong, my friends. Go for the jokes, not for the pokies, okay? Remember that. Go for the jokes and not the pokies. Be strong-minded. Now, every week, it's a different lineup for the comedians, and honestly, they are hilarious. Like, proper, like stomach hurts, can't breathe, hilarious. Even when they bomb, when there's bad ones and stuff, and you feel bad, even they're funny, and it's still great because it's a free show, and we love a good train wreck too. Now, why I'm doing this Truth or Tale podcast episode is because I've been to 3 of the shows now, and what makes this comedy club every Sunday at Star City Casino on the Gold Coast so unique for me enough to do an episode about this is the audience. Now, the audience is the weirdest audience I have ever been to in my life at this stand-up comedy. And any of these comedians that play at this show, and I'm sure they play at some really weird shows around Australia, around the world, I think they would think the same thing too. Because this crowd at this place is an absolute circus. It's a melting pot of comedy nerds like me, random hotel guests, people who just lost a fortune gambling and need emotional CPR, very drunk humans making questionable choices, and a good old Nigel with no mates who are just there for the vibes. And honestly, I'm part of the weirdo collective too. So I'm not saying I'm not a weirdo, but I'm saying in the audience at the casino for this comedy show, it's weird. It's a weird bunch of people. Now, I don't know if it's because the show's for free or if it's because a casino comedy club, gets just weirdo characters. I'm not sure, but I've never seen anything like it. And, you walk in and you get there, and the first thing you notice is the chairs. They've got all these chairs in the middle, and they're really random chairs where it looks like a Scientology church that's on acid. Now, I've never been to a Scientology church in real life, but this is how I picture it. And I don't even know, like, the characters that sit in the audience as well. And like I said, I've been to 3 shows. For example, when I went, I think like 2 weeks ago, I had these 2, I think there were a couple in front of me. They looked really Australian, like, kind of like bogans. There's nothing wrong with bogans. I went to Bundy High. I'm a bogan by heart. But what I'm saying is they look like 2 bogans, and there's nothing wrong with that. And then one of the comedians is saying a joke about, like, how there's like people who like have their like front lawns, and they have cars, like 100 cars on their lawn, and like, they don't clean them up, and it's like a car yard, and the 2 bogans in front of me at the show are like, that's us, we have that. And I was like, oh my God, this is hilarious. Anyway, with the 3 shows that I've been to, another person who's in the audience, like I said, it's a really, really weird crowd. He would be, I don't know, in his late 20s, young guy, maybe like 27, 28, and he sits right in the front row. Now, and when he sits in the front row, there's no one else sitting in the front row with him, because as we know, people are really scared to sit in the front row because they think they're going to be heckled, which, they usually do, right? And with the 3 shows that I've been to, he's been there every time, and he doesn't have anyone with him. So he goes by himself. So he's brave. He's really brave. Like, who sits in the front row at a comedy club show by themselves? Like, he's just, if the comedian's going to pick on him, he's just asking for it. That's what I say. Anyway, every time a comedian performs, he heckles them, but he doesn't heckle them like in a rude way. Like, this guy is totally into comedy. He goes every week and he laughs at their jokes, and he's not like being mean to them. He's like, oh my God, that's hilarious. It's hilarious. So he's heckling in a way where he's very distracting to a comedian. So if you get a comedian up there that's not, done a lot of shows and stuff, and they're rehearsing of what they're talking about, and they're not good at improvising on the spot and going back to what they're talking about, I think it throws them off. I think it would throw them off a lot. You can definitely see that because, when he's laughing the loudest in the room. But it's hard to explain of how he heckles. I'll give you an example. So if someone was talking about, like a I don't know, let's say a 7-Eleven shop, for example. And they're like, when you go to a 7-Eleven shop and you walk in there and the lights are really bright, and the young heckler guy would be like, yeah, I know what you mean. I went to a 7-Eleven last week, I think it was, and I don't think the lights are that bright. Like, what 7-Elevens are you walking into? Like, he would say something like that, and the comedian would be like, I don't know, what 7-Eleven did you go to? And for a comedian that is really, really well trained, I mean, it's perfect medicine for them. You're giving this kind of quirky weirdo guy who is in the front row. Like, that's a perfect formula for a comedian to use this guy to their advantage. And at first I thought he was kind of like one of the comedian's friends who were, how they hire someone to make their show better or something. But he's definitely not. I've seen him at 3 shows now, and every time the comedians finish, and the show finishes, he always like runs after them and says, like, talks to them and goes, "You're amazing, that was so good." And so he's not friends with them. He's just someone who's very into comedy, and maybe he wants to do stand-up comedy one day, and he's just taking note, I would say. But yeah, he would always sit in the front row and kind of heckle them like that, and just then he would have a conversation with them, like as if he's the only one at the show and he's not at a stand-up comedy show and he's at a restaurant with a comedian. Like, he would just start talking to them, and it just throws the comedians off. So he is a heckler, but not in a rude way. He just he's just a bit odd, and he's not hurting anyone. He's actually quite funny, and that's why I like going, because not only are the comedians hilarious at this comedy club, the audience is freaking hilarious. Like, it's usually not the audience that's playing a tennis match with a comedian. Like, it's fucking hilarious. I've never seen so many weird people in one spot. Anyway, where I'm going with this is another comedian started chatting to this guy. Like I said, perfect formula. Why wouldn't you? And the comedian's like, "Dude, you're like interrupting my show. Can you just like be quiet for a while?" I saw you do it to another comedian as well. And then I felt bad for the guy, and I was like, "Oh no," but it is true. He's like just starting conversations and interrupting the comedians and stuff like that. And then he's like, "Yeah, well, like," and then the young guy was like, and then the comedian was like, "Where's all your friends anyway? Like, who did you come here with?" He's like, "Oh, I had like my girlfriend didn't come with me. She's like, I was shagging her last night in Byron Bay, but she wanted to stay there and not come to the casino." And the guy's like, "Sure, buddy, sure." And then the whole audience is laughing, and I felt bad for him. And I'm like, oh no, like, it sounds like he's lying. Maybe he is, but then you know what? Then I shouldn't feel sorry for him, because he's asking for it. Like, he's asking for it. Anyway, where I'm going with this is the last I've been to 3 shows. The previous show that I went to, he wasn't sitting at the front row this time. He was sitting on the side. So maybe someone said something to him, or maybe he was embarrassed by that comment that he said that was said to him at the previous show. And this time there was a different lady sitting in the front row by herself. She would have been, I don't know, let's say 47, 48. I'm not sure. That's just what she looked like to me. Normal lady, had glasses on, just a normal lady sitting at the front. And a comedian started talking, and then she started going, yeah. And she started heckling as well, but not heckling as in like the same way someone rude would do it, or that young guy that I talked about. She would heckle as well, where she would just start talking to the comedian as well. It's kind of similar to the other guy now that I think about it. And just start talking, where the comedian would have to stop and go, "Oh, okay, so what's your story? Like, what, like, you're sitting here in the front row, you're by yourself. Like, what, like, have you been gambling? Like, what's going on?" And like I said, perfect formula, right, for all these weirdos in the audience. And she's like, "Oh, it's my birthday." And the comedian's like, "It's your birthday?" And she's like, yeah. And he's like, "Oh, like, are you celebrating by yourself, that you've come to a comedy club by yourself? Like, where is everyone?" She's like, "No, I've got heaps of friends, but they're just like in the hotel room. We've decided to party, but no one wanted to party on anymore." And he's like, "Oh." And she's like, "What?" He's like, "Why?" And she's like, "They're tired and they're in bed now." And he's like, "It's 6:30 p.m. She goes, "Yeah, they didn't want to come, but I wanted to continue on, so here I am at the comedy store." And it's like, "Well, thank you for supporting me. Thank you. Everyone's like, laughing and stuff like that. And he's like, "What do you?" And then, no, he said something, but then she was one of those people where you didn't even ask the question. They're just telling you what they do. So then she went into her life story, and she started saying she's a psychologist, psychiatrist, one of those, probably psychologists, and why she got into it. And, it pays really good money, and that's why she could pay for all the rooms for her friends to stay at, that's in the casino at the moment, that are there for her birthday. And then she went into a story that she inherited her dad's business, which is like the adult company. So she's basically, I don't know what you're called. Like, are you called Mama Charger? I don't know what the word is. Anyway, she inherited her dad's business, where it's an adult entertainment company. So she's, I guess, takes care of all the prostitutes professionally and stuff like that. I forget what that's called. I've never been to one of these places, so I don't know what that's called. So it's kind of like, yes, she's interrupting the comedian during their show, but it's also so funny for the audience to listen to this, because this is happening, like I said, like a train wreck in live time, where I feel bad for the comedian because their show's being interrupted, but like I said, it's good practice for them to, if you do get a heckler or someone like this, which is always going to happen, use this to your advantage. And the comedian that was on, I think his name was like Alex Chapman, I think his name was, really good comedian. He was the MC, the host of the night, and he was just like, wow, this, you can't even fucking make this shit up. Like, this is hilarious. It's like, oh, okay, so your dad, so you're a psychologist, you've inherited an adult company, and what does that involve? And she was going into it, and then he would like, yeah, she just kept on talking. So like I said, how I'm explaining this to you, I know this because she was just an audience member sitting in the front row by herself. And this is during live comedy, and it just went on for ages. And then, it was just so funny because you had her in the front row, then you had the heckler guy that was like sitting on the side that he usually heckles, but for once he was quiet, and etc., etc. So me and my friend Danny at the time were just pissing ourselves laughing. Like, once again, you can't even write this shit. So where I'm going with this is it attracts a lot of weirdos to these people. It attracts a lot of weirdos. And look, I'm a weirdo too. I know I'm there too, but I love comedy and it's for free. But I don't know if it's attracting a lot of weirdos because it's inside a casino and people are drunk and gambling and then just wandering into the room and sitting down. I've noticed there's a lot of single people that go there. There's nothing wrong with that. I go to the cinemas by myself. I love the cinemas. But I noticed that if you look in the audience, it would be at least 20 people by themselves, like sitting, because there's a lot of seats in there, by the way, and no one just sits at the front. Everyone like spreads out, and the comedian's like, please, it makes it better for us if you sit all together because we can feel your energy. And I get that. I know what they mean, so I'm glad they say that. Maybe I'll sit close at the next show. But yeah, you've just got all these like odd people. You've got these people that are there, that they're there for like 10 minutes and then they just like walk out halfway through someone's show. You've got people who are maybe in the Gold Coast on holiday, so they're from another country. It's just a really odd bunch of people, and if you're in the area, I just highly suggest you to go just to get this experience, because I go to a comedy a lot. And I've, in New York and in Australia, in Sydney, the Comedy Channel, I go to a lot of shows, and I've just never experienced anything like this before. And it's not even a once-off. Like, I've been to 3 shows, and every show has had these hecklers and these people that I'm talking to you about. And I don't know. I even said to my friend Danny, like, do you think we're being punked? And when they set up hidden cameras and things like that, because it's not a normal vibe. I can't even. It's to the point that I'm just had to do a podcast episode about it. I had to vent this to you of how funny it is. Anyway, where I'm going with this, I'm just trying to describe to you of like that lady, and she told her whole life story, the psychologist, and she had no friends with her because they're upstairs, etc., etc. And the comedians think she's lying, and they think the other guy's lying that said that he comes but his girlfriend doesn't want to come because he was shagging her too hard and she's stuck in Byron Bay. Like, you can't even make this shit up. And anyway, where I'm going this in conclusion is when the show finished, that like 48-year-old woman heckler lady and the other heckler guy that's like 26, 28 started talking after the show at the bar. And I was like to my friend Danny, oh my God, look at them too. Like, this is like a love story. Like, are you serious? Like, are they attracted to each other because they do the same thing? Like, look. And we don't know if they went home together, went up to her hotel room to go for bonkety bonk. I'm not sure, but I'm so excited to go this Sunday just to see if he's there again, if she's there again. Maybe she's not there again. I'm not sure or what happened. But if you do go, look out for these characters that I'm telling you about, because it's so funny. It makes the shows hilarious. I'm excited to see the new comedians that will be on this week. And it's just an experience. It really is. No one's doing anything wrong or right. It's just a funny experience to be in, because it's just a weird energy audience. And I hope if you do go this week or whenever, you'll see what I'm talking about. It's not bad. It's just fucking hilarious. But anyway, moral of the story, in conclusion, gummies make life better. Comedy clubs inside casinos are chaos factories. Weirdos unite, and laughter is truly the best and cheapest medicine as long as you don't gamble away your prescription money. Thanks for coming to my gummy-fueled TED Talk. See you next time for another True Tall Tale where life stays weird and I'm just here trying to make sense of it. My name is Sunny Boy. You're listening to True Tall Tales. I'll speak to you next week. Be safe. Say hello to your mum and dad for me. Bye-bye.